Hello, everyone, and welcome to the John Patricelli Pool at Northwest Middle School, home of the Coon Rapids Cardinals swimming and diving team. Tonight, the Cardinals host the Andover Huskies. Joe Yund and Doug Donaldson up above. And Doug, glad you could make it on short notice when Howie was unavailable due to the holiday. And certainly happy Rosh Hashanah to all of our Jewish friends. But glad to have you add so much knowledge to the broadcast that would not be here if it were just Howie and I.
Well, we'll see.
Obviously, a long time. We're going to start with the 200 medley relay.
They don't wait around for anything here, Joe.
So right. So the second year away from the pool. Growing family, but happy to have you here.
Yeah.
How much do you miss it, and what kind of memories was it walking back in?
Well, I mean, I miss, the every day of being able to coach and see people improve, and that the camaraderie of the athletes and the team. I don't miss the time. It's a huge commitment, and I'm very thankful and blessed to be able to spend the time with my family, and it's been great, and looking forward to the many years with them. So, I don't miss that part of it, but I do miss coaching, obviously. I don't know how you couldn't. Yeah.
So Andover running 1-2 in lanes 4 and 6. Coon Rapids squad of Abby Peterson, Evelyn Alta-Peter now in the water for the breaststroke portion, running in third place, and those three kind of running away from the other lanes in the pool.
Real key tonight, I think, Joe, for just the meet in general. Andover's going to be probably leading most of the races. They're going to be the favorite tonight. Can Coon Rapids slide in there for some depth spots? Can they maybe sneak a first place here or there? That's going to be an interesting key, I think, to pay attention to.
And a large lead for the Andover squad in lane 4. That's Morgan Sheely, Mara Valley, Leanna Seward, and now Allie Oswell finishing it in the freestyle.
Allie Oswell was a state competitor last year in the 50-yard freestyle, so she certainly has a lot of speed behind her.
And they will win well in front of second place, which is the Andover team in lane 6. Zoe Hughes, Sunita Kambumi, Bella Kirschman, and now Chloe Kemsey getting to the wall.
Looks like
Andover is actually going to go 1, 2, 3, but obviously you can only score in the top 2 spots.
Unfortunate not to get that touch there for that third place, but they do get the points regardless. You can only score 2 relays, as you said, Joe. So Coon Rapids comes away with 2 points. Andover will come away with 12 points in that event.
And we will step away and be back with the 200 freestyle after this. You're watching high school swimming and diving on CTN.
Did you know major recreational equipment like RVs, campers, converted buses, and boats are allowed on residential property in Coon Rapids? But you are limited to 2 items that must be registered and operable. And any vehicle parked at a home for more than 12 hours must not exceed a certain size. For more information on this and other city codes, log on to coonrapidsmn.gov.
back at Northdale Middle School pool, about ready to start the 200 freestyle. And they're off. And interesting how many of them took their mark long before they were told to do so. I thought maybe I just didn't hear it, so I was being quiet.
No, that's a habit, right? And usually you don't hold them that long on the blocks, but I think they were waiting to see if someone was going to come in on lane 3. It looks like Coon Rapids had a swimmer listed in that lane, but she didn't show up. So sometimes the refs will be a little nice and wait to make sure they're not missing somebody.
Ellie Lewis in the middle for the Cardinals, setting the pace for the first 50 of this 200 free.
Ellie's one of the top girls on the Coon Rapids squad. She's a finalist in the 500-yard freestyle from last year at sections. Looking to probably do something similar again this year, if not move up a little bit there. And she scored points in the 200 free, which means she was top 16 at sections last year. So this is definitely one of her better events. She's a full-on distance swimmer for sure. It's something she enjoys, she loves to do. I'm excited to see what she's able to put in here for a time.
Midway starting to separate at least from the third place position. Just below her is Carly Gleaves, staying right on her hip, not a full length behind.
This is really that crucial moment of the race. You got to kind of decide if you're going to go or not. Try to put your opponent away. Looks like Carly's hanging on, like you said, on Ellie's hip. So we'll see. Last 50 coming up.
Who's got the strongest push down and back? And Carly certainly showing she's got more in the gas tank as she heads for the final turn, and Ellie pushing to stay in the lead.
I would not be surprised to see Ellie pull away on this last 25. If I know anything from coaching her, she races home hard. So we'll see what happens.
They will go to the wall, stroke for stroke. And it's going to be close. Oh. And it will be the touch going to Carly Gleaves in 2:15:32.
Looks like Andover came in with a third and a fourth place as well.
So they will continue to grow their lead in a tight race that Lewis led for most of the way, but a strong final 50 for Carly Gleaves gets another blue ribbon for the Andover Huskies. We will take a short break. Up next is the 200 individual medley after this on CTN. back at Northdale Middle School, and Coon Rapids a very small team, and they have a couple of girls out with illness, so not filling the lanes quite as well as Andover. That depth certainly helps the Huskies, but they have also had the top-level talent as well, jumping to the early lead through 2 events. 200 individual medley. Caitlin Davis for the Cardinals in lane 3. Evelyn Altapeter in lane 5. For Andover, they have Zoe Hughes in lane 2. Sunita Kambunmi in lane 4. Alyssa Eastman in lane 6. And Alexis Jackson in lane 8 up at the top.
Joe, just a point about that depth. You know, Andover has eight girls on their roster returning from last year that scored at the section meet. Coon Rapids has 2, and one of those girls is not swimming tonight. So that definitely puts a wrench in anything you're trying to do in terms of scoring points.
Well, and obviously, as you well know, swimming is ultimately an individual sport, and you're racing against yourself, your previous bests. And sometimes when the numbers are low and the success is much harder to see, it's important to remember that as each of the athletes is continuing to improve on their own times.
Yeah, I mean, you have to gauge success in multiple different ways in this sport because it's a team sport, first and foremost at the high school level, but it's an individual sport, and you have to be able to put things in perspective and say, how do I get better as an athlete? Every single race, every single day, how do I get better? Can I improve? What are the things I need to do to improve? And as a coach, that's the goal, just trying to get people faster, because the more you can get your athletes to improve, the better your team is going to be. That's simple. That's obvious. But that is the name of the game. And so for Evelyn and for Caitlin that are swimming in this race, it's, can you beat your seed time? So we'll see. Evelyn has a 2:53.85 coming in. She's holding up pretty well against the Andover girls. She's maybe a body length behind. Can she have a good swim here to finish it off the last 50? And Caitlin, she's at a 3:10.17. Can she get a little bit closer to the 3-minute mark, start to shave some time off? That's really key.
Yeah, Kambunmi is running away from everyone. Altapeter was and still is really in a battle for that number 3 spot, with Zoe Hughes down at the bottom in lane 2. And it looks like they will go 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be Eastman with the strongest finish taking first place for the Huskies. They will go 1, 2, 3. Coon Rapids will take the 3 points. Eastman obviously very happy with the time she sees on the board. 2:44.29 is her winning time. We will take a break. Up next, the Splash and Dash 50 free. You're watching high school swimming and diving on CTN.
There was once a time when local sports coverage wasn't what it is now. A dark age filled with handicaps and Polaroids and angry crowds. Then 2 noble souls stood and proclaimed aloud that they'd give the people high-quality sports no matter how. So Sports Nights they became. Delivering stats and highlights was their vow. And Sports Nights they remain. Watch them weekly on CTN Now.
back in Northdale Middle School pool. 50 free. Down and back. Fastest race of the night, and Andover has looked very strong across the board in the first 3 events, growing a very large lead. What can be done to slow them down? Not much in a 50 free.
Seward leading the way here. State qualifier last year in the 200 freestyle. Not surprised to see her finish first.
And the Huskies will take 1, 2, 3. Again, back-to-back podium sweeps for Andover will really boost their lead going into diving. And diving, again, they've got more numbers. Cardinals only a couple of girls that will compete, but that will be up next on CTN. Back at Northdale Middle School pool, ready to get the diving underway. Nora Enquist leading off for Andover with a forward somersault pike position.
20.25. Our next diver, Bailey, free dive number 1C, forward dive.
And now Bailey Johnson also for Andover. Forward dive in the tuck position. New scoreboard here at the Northdale Middle School pool. Not as detailed, but it gets the job done.
It does. It's the other board had a lot of issues from what I understand, and obviously I was here for a lot of those issues too, and so we got a new board.
And now the Cardinals' first diver, Carrie Hartung. Back dive in the straight position to start. And Doug, we talk a lot about with the coaches when you were here, since you've been gone, the struggles to get numbers. And you know, diving is a spot where the Cardinals really don't have many. And we talk about, you know, one of the places you try and draw from, especially for divers, is gymnastics. That's another program that is really struggling for numbers.
All is tied together.
Peyton Kazarek for Andover, and pretty smooth forward somersault pike position.
21.75.
Yeah, we definitely, you know, you want to see growth in numbers and growth in size of the teams, and it's an uphill battle sometimes, and when other sports are hurting too, it doesn't help any of it.
Andover with 6 divers tonight. This is Avery Rapp. Cardinals just 2.
I think just 1 diving varsity too.
Correct. Yeah. Carrie Hartung, we've seen the first. She's only doing 2 dives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So pretty much after round 2, it'll be Delilah Smith-Jeanette and the Huskies.
Carrie's also a swimmer and swims pretty regularly, so I think she's just adding on the dives, trying to fill in a need on the team.
Which obviously is also huge to have athletes willing and able to do those things.
Well, you need it when you only have 22 athletes. You need people to be versatile. You need them to fill in multiple roles. You know, play, quote unquote, play multiple positions. I mean, that's crucial.
Delilah's first dive, very solid. Forward 1.5 somersault, pike position.
Really clean dive here when you look at it. Gets a nice tight pike position. Feet come a little bit, not quite together at the finish, but really nice solid dive for her.
And Aubrey Haydick will finish round 1 for the Huskies, doing the exact same dive. And she also does it quite cleanly. When you're going back-to-back, and I know you were a swimmer, not a diver, but when you're back-to-back diving, doing the same dive, easier to be the first or the second, do you think?
Beginning round 2.
Huh?
They scored exactly the same, by the way.
I think that depends on your mentality. Really. I mean, in terms of the judging, it's obviously easier for your first because they're going to compare you to the previous dive even if they say they aren't. But it happens so often in diving, so I think they just kind of move on.
Nora with a forward 1.5 somersault in the tuck position for the Huskies.
She had a nice tight tuck. Would like to see work the board a little bit more. Joe, I was a swimmer, but being a head coach for 8 years, I definitely had to learn something about diving. So I know a little bit. I know a little bit.
A little.
Yes. Your dive is 201B. Back
Well, you had John Carpy as your diving coach for a while, didn't you?
There
Or
was some
he before?
crossover. Well, there was some crossover. I think when I first took over, though, Mike Hawkes was the diving coach.
Bailey Johnson back dive, pike position.
And obviously, for a long time, I was blessed to have Osa Schmidt as my diving coach.
20. Next up is
So the new board does not tell me their total dive score.
Oh, okay.
Only the score for that particular dive.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to give that comment to John, see if he'll fix that.
I'm assuming it has the functionality somewhere. Carrie Hartung, her second and again final dive, just doing the 2 forward tuck.
I'm guessing she started diving at some point this year. I mean, probably shouldn't guess, but she's been a swimmer for a long time, so you can see that the board work isn't there, but it looks like she's given her best effort, so that's good to see.
Peyton Kozera, good strong rotation. Knees a little bent at the end, but got good rotation.
Yeah, a little far from the board too, but you just got to clean that up. You got to get a little bit closer, keep those legs straight on the finish, really kick out. Don't let them come over the top.
Avery Rath, her second.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Andover's best diver, Cadence Andersland, is not diving tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how Delilah places here. She's a really good diver, ranked 11th in the conference this year. Hopefully she can get a first place for the Cardinals.
This is Ellie Staley. Delilah and Aubrey will do the same dives again here in round 2. Forward 2 somersault in the tuck position. It's a lot of rotation to get in. She got there, just not able to get straight before hitting the water.
She got a little stuck on the board on the end there. Didn't really get the lift that she needed to help get that dive around. She is coming back from an injury from last year, so probably still getting a little bit more comfortable with the board.
And Aubrey again doing that same one, not able to quite get the rotation all the way around. And they scored the exact same in round one, and I've got to imagine this one not going to score too well.
If it scores, that
At
we're
all.
discussing right now, it looks like. I'm not sure that it's going to.
Her feet did hit the water first.
Okay, but it depends on what the judges see. So,
Right.
It looks like we're going to get a score here. Not expecting a ton. Yeah.
17.6.
So they got
Well,
the heels first, like you saw.
And it's better than did not finish.
Oh, 100%. I mean, she's still in it. You know, even though she had that mistake, she's still in it. So.
And back to the top for Nora. Solid focus on her face. And the inward dives always require that type of focus.
It is such a hard sport. You have to give these athletes a ton of credit. It's so mental. You make one mistake and it impacts your entire score. You know, you cannot. I mean, it's so hard, so hard.
Anything, the reverses and the inwards to me always freak me out. Back somersault, and may have surprised herself with how much speed she had on her rotation. Over-rotated just a little bit.
It's so easy to do too on a back dive. You have, you know, you're not able to see the water right away coming off the board. You gotta spot it, and if you don't, you're gonna miss your landing spot, and it's not gonna end up well. So it is a very difficult dive to do.
Peyton an inward somersault. Tuck position, and I completely 100% understand getting enough room away from the board. You're more concerned getting away from the board than getting height.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing with the inward dive is, you know, really, if you're not an experienced diver, you're more worried, like you said, about hitting the board. And to get the really good dives, you have to get height. You have to use the board. Not easy to do, but that's what's required.
Avery Rath with a forward somersault, half twist, free position. So we work through the middle of round 3. And again, it's down to the 6 Andover divers and Delilah Smith-Jeanette. Delilah does have the lead after round 2.
Somewhere in the 60 range, we think, right? You're in the back of the napkin.
According to my math, which it's Minneapolis math that may or may not be right, I believe it's 62.75 to 47.35. So about a 15-point lead.
We see their previous diver did not get quite all the way around the twist, so that is a failed dive,
Our next
unfortunately.
diver is Ellie, 301C, reverse dive tuck 1.6.
Yeah, I've got to do the math because the board no longer does it for me. I'd like to speak with the manager, please.
Well, it's not me anymore, so you can take it up with management.
This is actually a really
that was a
clean dive
really nice dive
for Ellie Staley, an inward or a reverse dive in the tuck position. I mean, it's very easy to nitpick little tiny things.
Inward dive height 1.5.
See the scissor a little bit there on the feet, but Very clean.
Very nice dive.
And now Delilah to do an inward dive, pike position, and Aubrey will do a different dive. So they did not coordinate their entire routines.
Solid
That was a
dive
really
out of Delilah.
clean
Yes.
dive.
Little bit of a tilt at the end, but really nice. First half of the dive just looked great. Great setup.
Well, and this is where Aubrey Haydick has a little bit higher degree of difficulty in this round. So an opportunity for her to try and make up some of what she lost in round 2.
Certainly, but Delilah just got 7, 7.5, and 7 and scored 30-some points in that dive. So that's a huge score.
I'm so sorry, Aubrey. I apologize to you. Aubrey is doing dive at 51.21D, forward 1 somersault, half twist 1.7.
Yeah, and that's not going to get the 7s for sure. Just watching that dive right off. It wasn't a bad dive, but it's not going to get the 7s. So I would
And that was the same dive we saw Avery do a couple dives ago.
22.95.
Yeah, so about 10 points behind on just that dive, and obviously she had that slip up in the previous round. I think Delilah's lead now is getting a little bit to the point where she's got to nail the last couple rounds here, but she's in a solid position for sure.
Back to the top for Nora Enquist. Back somersault, half twist, free position. If my math is correct, and there's, again, strong possibility that it isn't, it's about a 25-point lead. A little less, 95. I have it at 95.00 for Delilah, 70.30 for Aubrey.
Delilah's obviously looking to try to get over that 150-point mark, which she's been able to do consistently. It's a pretty good standard for a diver to get over that 150-point mark in 6 dives. Push to the 200 number.
Inward dive, tuck position for Bailey.
She just started that dive just trying to get away from the board, and that obviously, you know, it doesn't set up the beginning of the dive well. Listen, I'm not a diver, so I would do the same thing that she's doing.
She's closer to the board than I would be.
In fact, she's probably doing it loads better than I could do it. Okay, but it's just, yeah, that's.
I don't know that I think you could take the probably out of that statement. Peyton Kozarek, a very clean back somersault, kept her body very straight.
Yeah, that was a really nice dive. If you're wondering why she got 4s, she probably could use a little bit more height, but otherwise, that was a solid dive. Solid dive, and you'll take that.
Now Avery looking for a bounce back after missing on the twist last time.
She missed that dive by barely inches, so let's see what she can recover here. Well, she got it in. That certainly is a little bit easier dive to do, so it's good that she got that in the water.
She's wearing a Coon Rapids swimsuit, though. I'm a little confused. Listed on Andover, clearly. Pretty sure I saw a cardinal on her swimsuit.
Well,
Half twist, 1.7.
maybe she didn't have a suit and they needed an extra under hers ripped or something.
Ellie Staley. Again, another pretty clean dive. Forward somersault, half twist.
See that tilt she took at the end? It's so hard to control that twist when you're doing the somersault. Easy to let your body kind of get out of line.
28.4.
It was a solid dive. It looked really good all the way up until the very finish when she kind of just rolled on the edge there.
Somersault straight, 1.7.
So hard. Delilah.
She has got stronger with just about every dive.
Back dive straight. One somersault.
Another really clean dive, like you said. Her last dive was
Really
exceptional.
good. Yeah, exceptional.
Sevens across the board. And, I don't know how you follow that up. That was a pretty clean dive.
Yeah, that's a good
little
score.
higher degree of difficulty. But, you know, you were talking about the overall score, too. And she's, I mean, this will drop that down a little bit. It was on pace for a 190 with 95 through the first half. And now here's Aubrey's fourth dive.
I'm a little intrigued by Aubrey. I was doing some research before I came, and she was a section qualifier in 2 swimming events last year, and based on the results that I've seen, she's not swimming at all. She's just diving this year, so it's a little intriguing. You know, that's some point loss for sure.
But if that's what she enjoys.
Oh, 100%. Listen, I can't fault any athlete for wanting to do what they want to do, but very interesting from the outside looking in.
Round 5, the final dive for Nora Enquist, and maybe saved her best for last. She kept her body nice and straight through that somersault. The 24.65. That's a nice way to finish.
Nice dive. Yeah, Joe. I mean, the big thing is, most of these athletes are not going to be competing in college. Some will. So you gotta do what you want to do. You gotta have fun. You gotta enjoy the sport. That's what it's about.
Final dive of the night for Bailey Johnson. Forward dive, full twist.
She did not. How do I say this? She did not really get up. She kind of just rotated off the board. It does count. There was, I think, enough where they scored it, obviously, but I think there was a discussion about whether or not she went up. There's a certain dive picture that you're looking for in order to score, and if you're not seeing it, then it's tough to give that dive a good score. So.
I believe it might be her best dive of the night. So, did score a 25.
Probably the key there is a 2.0 degree of difficulty. So,
yeah, that certainly helps.
That was a nice dive for Peyton Kazarek.
Next is
25 points.
202A, back, 1 somersault, straight, 1.7.
I've only done running totals on the top 2.
Yeah. Or what we think are the top 2.
Oh, I'm relatively certain that Delilah's number 1. Avery Rath, back dive, straight position.
Your eyes do not deceive you, Joe. She is wearing a Cardinal.
17.85.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was a suit issue. We often would keep suits in, obviously extra suits, in case there was ever a problem. So
Makes
I'm sure
sense.
that's probably what happened. I don't think anyone's going to bring it up, but I think it might be against high school rules to be wearing the logo of the other opponent. But it's in this situation like this, no one's really going to make an issue of it.
Well, again, they do what you got to do to let the kids play.
Yeah, 100%. This is a high school sport. It's about the kids. Let them compete. Anything you can do to make sure that they can just get out there and compete.
Ellie Staley continues to be clean. It's funny, she got some help to get
She had a lot of help.
moved to get the spring moved as far back as possible so that it could be she get as much spring, because obviously there's not a lot of body mass to her, so she needs as much spring as that board can give her.
Yeah, that fulcrum, it looks like, you know, divers move it so easily, but it is not easy to move. It takes a lot of coordination, especially when they move it just with one foot. I don't know how they do it. It's hard enough to move it with two hands. Clean dive, very clean dive. Yeah, wow, good score. 6.56, that's a great score.
403 feet inward, 1.5 somersaults, top 2.2.
150.
$150.25. Solid dive for Aubrey. Didn't get quite straight, but again, talk about that inward, a lot of rotation to get a 1.5. I mean, she clearly got it done, and a great score, 36.3.
That dive has a 2.2 degree of difficulty. It's a very difficult dive to get around. She did a great job of doing it, gets rewarded. And yeah, I mean, that's why you have to just keep your head down. She made a little slip up earlier, but 36 points on a dive will get you back in the game a little bit.
Final round, Peyton.
Wow, very nice twist on that dive.
Yep, got around facing the board, shoulders straight. Kept the body pretty straight all the way through the rotation as well.
Yeah, that was a solid dive, for sure. That was a solid dive. And if you're in that 25 points per dive, I mean, that's 150 points in 6. That's a really good score. If you can maintain that over 11 dives, like, you're going to do well, and you're probably going to score at section. So it's always something we're looking for, you know, when you're talking about diving and scores and what the goals are.
Back somersault, half twist, free position for Avery.
Delilah lending a hand to the fulcrum here this time for Ellie Staley.
22.1.
There's such camaraderie amongst the divers too. It's such a hard sport. They all really cheer for each other, even if they're opponents.
Late kick for Staley. Got herself back to mostly straight. And again, just you need more weight to get more bounce to get the height.
You know, yes and no. I mean, she is bouncing some, so it's more just about working the board. Obviously, you know, you build up strength, that can help. But she got around it. It's a good dive. Oh,
great
really
finish
nice
for
dive.
Delilah Smith-Jeanette. And that should put it pretty much out of reach for Aubrey Haydick. Oh yeah, 34.2. That will get the job done.
Aubrey, 302B.
Should be a 184, 185, I think, right, Joe?
184.45.
184.45. What a great score.
Well, that was possibly the best dive of the night for Aubrey Haydick. She got a ton of height off that board.
That's the kind of air you're looking for when you're doing those reverse dives. You really want to get up, get that body line right. She had great toe point too, held that position strong. Great dive to finish.
And I'm sure it's at least close, but I've got her at 152.95, which is also a solid score, especially when you consider she had the one bad dive in the second round. But that should give Coon Rapids a first place finish, and that will not necessarily cut into the lead, though.
No, they're actually going to lose
depth.
points on the, on the event.
But we will take a break and be back with more swimming from Northdale Middle School after this on CTN.
There was once a time when local sports coverage wasn't what it is now. A dark age filled with handycams and Polaroids and angry crowds. Then two noble souls stood and proclaimed aloud that they'd give the people high-quality sports no matter how. So sports nights they became. Delivering stats and highlights was their vow. And sports nights they remain. Watch them weekly on CTN Now.
Want to know the who, what, when, and where of Coon Rapids? Then follow CTN on social media. It's that simple. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, keep up with local news, sports, and events. And the people who make our community such a great place to live. So give us a follow, like, share, or subscribe, and always be the first to know what's up in Coon Rapids. That's CTN, helping you stay connected.
back at the John Patricelli pool at Northdale Middle School. 58-19 the lead for Huskies after diving. And back to swimming with the 100 butterfly, and looks like we lost a Cardinal.
Yeah,
because I only see five on the board up there.
It's an easy event to, convince yourself you can't do. It is a hard event, the 100 butterfly. It's mentally challenging because when it starts to go wrong, it can go wrong in a big way. And so, I always tried to push our athletes to give it a try. Worst that happens is, what happens? You don't finish or whatever. I mean, just try to finish a race. That's the main thing. But,
Carly Gleaves, who had the big first place finish earlier, is leading the way, but you can see Andover going 1, 2, 3, and they're all pretty tight.
This is one of those events, too, where depth really does play a part. I mean, you have a much bigger team on Andover's side, so they have way more to pull from in terms of the amount of swimmers that can swim this event, can finish this event. And those are some really good times. 1:14, 1:16, 1:18. Those are some solid swims for Andover. None of these girls are really section competitors in the 100 butterfly necessarily. So it was just a good showing for them. And then Abby, it looks like, I don't even know if she's ever swam this event. So Abby from Coon Rapids getting a swim in there. That's awesome. That's so cool.
And she will get the fourth place points. Huskies creep ever closer to the win. We'll take a break. Up next is the 100 freestyle on CTN. Andover's lead at 50 after 6 events. Event 7, the 100 freestyle. Tyler Shuda and Basima Abuznane. And I'm sure that's completely mispronounced, but those are the 2 Cardinals. Lydia Gorowski, Ali Oswell, Emma Sokolovsky, and Frankie Foster are the 4 Andover girls. And again, you go back to just being able to fill all of your lanes.
Yeah, and that
seems a luxury the Cardinals have no chance of achieving this season, and maybe not for a couple more years without finding that influx of new blood.
It takes roughly 20 some athletes to fill an entire roster, swimming 3 per event. That's a big ask too, because you have some events where people can't swim, they can't do all the strokes or whatever it is. So it gets really difficult. The math gets difficult to figure out how to do it. And you want to put your best athletes in some of their better events because that's what they're going to swim at the end of the year at sections. So, yeah, sometimes you just can't fill all the lanes when you have a small team.
Another 1, 2, 3 finish for the Huskies in the 100 free. Up next, the long distance event, 500 freestyle on CTN. Back in Northdale Middle School pool and into the water for the 500 freestyle. We talked about it, Doug. Ellie Lewis, this is kind of her specialty.
Premier event for sure.
And she won the 200 free earlier.
She got second place.
That's right.
Yeah,
she was out-touched in the 200 free and would like to make sure that that doesn't happen here. Boy, she jumped to a big lead early, and not necessarily always the best strategy because of the distance. You have to make sure you have something to finish with.
Listen, I'm not saying she's Katie Ledecky, okay? But if you watch the Olympics and you watch Katie Ledecky swim, she gets out early and she gets out fast, and that's her strategy. And Ellie Lewis came into this with a strategy. She knows what she wants to do. She knows the time she wants to go. She knows the pace she wants to hold, and she's been working on that all season. And so she cannot swim down to the people next to her, especially in this race. She has a race that she's looking for at the end of the season, and she has to be able to know how to swim at that level. And, you know, to swim at a certain pace for 5-6 minutes, it takes that work and it takes that commitment, and you have to be willing to push yourself. You can't always rely on a race next to you. Now, when you're at the section meet, there's a race, possibly. Then you can maybe rely on somebody else a little bit, but still, you want to swim your own race. You want to focus on the things you need to do well. And that's what she has to do here. So we'll see if she can hold. We're looking for if she can split under 36s. That's going to be a really good time. If she can kind of hold around that 36 mark, 36.7, that's okay. That's, she's certainly right around that pace. We're looking to try to break 6 minutes is really the goal. Her best time coming in so far, I think, is 5:58.31. So if she can hang around that 36, 35 mark, that's a really good time.
Well, and I'd have to say, of all the athletic pursuits you can think of in high school athletics, this is one of the most grueling, the most challenging of any of those events. Obviously, I would put cross country up there as well, just as the mental fortitude to run 5K. And the boys are turning in times in the mid to high teens. Yeah, that's really fast. That's a lot of pace.
It's a lot of pace. It's a lot of pain. Yeah. Right. And the hardest thing too is it's like,
that's why I would put this above the cross country, just because it's even more muscles in your body that need to be at that level, at that pace for a longer. Obviously, it's not as long a time. It's a third of the time of a cross country race, but something about swimming, that's a lot of work.
I don't like getting into the comparison of what's harder, whatever. But I will say there's not really many other sports out there where you have to hold your breath while you're competing, and that certainly adds something else to. Not only is it a 5 or 6 minute race, but you're holding your breath at moments during this, and you don't do that in other sports. It's just not something you do.
Yeah. So you would say also 6 minutes would be the time of wrestling, and wrestling is definitely incredibly grueling, but it's not 6 minutes straight. You got a little breaks between your periods, and sometimes there's stoppages and resets and all of those. This is nonstop. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like to get in the comparison game. It's not really fair to any sport. I'm not trying to be political. It's just not fair because everything's different. Well, every sport's different, and every sport has different challenges. And in swimming and diving, there's a lot of things that are totally different than any other sport you will ever participate in. And one of those things is just the fact that you're swimming in water or you're diving into water. It's nowhere else do you see it where you have that kind of resistance. This is a resistance sport. People don't think of it like that, but it's a resistance sport. You're always facing some sort of resistance. And so you have to learn how to deal with that and push past that. And the best ones really do, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of work, and kudos to anyone who decides to sign up for this. But it is a really fun sport. I spent a long time involved in this sport, 20 years involved in this sport, so it's a ton of fun, and there's really, in my mind, nothing better. But
Ellie seems to be keeping that pace and just running away from the pack.
She's doing a great job. I mean, she's hanging right around that high 36, low 37 number. This will be a great barometer here as she's coming in. If she can touch that wall before 5:24, she's going to be a little bit behind it. We'll see what the last 50 ends up being, but 5:24 is that 6 minute pace. So she's probably about 3 seconds off of that pace right now. But if she has a great last 50, she can certainly make it up.
And how do you push yourself on that last 50 when you know that you're a lap and a half ahead of second place?
Well, you don't always know that.
That's true.
At this point, if you're a lap and a half ahead, they're gone. You haven't paid attention to them. She's swimming her own race. But I will say it's always easier to go on the last 50 because you see the red card going in the water. It's easier to push yourself to finish. Sure. Oh, that's a good time.
To be done that much faster. 6:03.91 will be the winning time for Ellie Lewis. And the second blue ribbon of the night for the home squad. The first for Delilah Smith-Jeanette in diving, and one of her best ever times. We were speaking with her father a little bit after the diving competition. Said her personal best is 189. She finished today with a 184.45, so really nice time, a nice score for Smith Jeanette. And Lewis, as you mentioned, a 5:58, her best time. So not her best time, but within 5 seconds, and it's a really solid race. She's 26 seconds ahead of second place.
Yeah, it's a great swim on her part. You just want to be consistent at this time of the year. You're trying to work hard and get those times in. Obviously, you want to go best times, but the consistency is really what matters, and that usually bodes well for the end of the season when you taper if you've been a consistent swimmer hanging around the same time. So it's good to see another solid effort out of her. And it's also great to see, you got some other good swims here for the Cardinals. Madeline Romano within 6 seconds of her best time. And then it looks like Vivian Jensen in lane 7 has not swum a 500 yet this season. She doesn't have a time, at least on the sheet. So kudos to her for diving in and going after it.
Well, Romano does pick up a 4th place finish, so this will be the best event of the night so far for the Cardinals. A wash, 8-8.
First time they haven't given up any points.
Running out of events to try and make up what is a gigantic deficit. And this is another thing that impresses me about the long distance swimmers. First of all, there's no way I could do this. Maybe with a fair amount of training I could figure it out, but for this young lady, knowing that everyone else in the pool is done and she's still got at least one full lap to go, for her to continue to push is impressive. And one of the great things is the atmosphere at the pool.
Yeah.
Every athlete in here is cheering for her from both teams.
Well, it doesn't matter how, what your level is as an athlete, how fast or slow you are. You know how hard it is to swim this race and any race, and so you're going to cheer on people that, it's great. She obviously, it's probably her first time swimming it. It's an accomplishment just to finish a race, so that's very good.
And a first place finish again in convincing fashion for Ellie Lewis. We will take a break. Up next, the 200 free relay. You're watching Swimming and Diving on CTN.
As you know, CTN's on YouTube, and we're on in a big way. We have thousands of videos online to help you stay connected to Coon Rapids on any device, at home, or on the go. And it's because of your faithful viewership that we can celebrate 10,000 subscribers to the CTN YouTube page. Thank you for your support as we continue to keep you connected.
the Cardinal keeping an eye on the activities below. We get to event number 9. The 200 freestyle relay. Andover will almost guaranteed. Well, they will guaranteed regardless, even if Coon Rapids finishes 1-2. Just the 2 points they would receive for a third place finish in this event would clinch the meet win for the Andover Huskies.
I mean, theoretically, they already have it, but yeah.
So,
That's not really the goal of this meet for Coon Rapids. You know, they know where they're at, and this is about improvement. This is about getting better. You know, they're not on a level that they can compete with Andover, and so they're, you know, I mean, Andover got third place in the section last year. This is still a pretty good team. They came into the meet 1-4, but they faced a lot of the top teams in the conference so far, and so maybe they're not at the top level, but they're still a really solid team. So, you know, Coon Rapids has a lot of growth that they need to get. They need to get bigger as a team in order to be more competitive. And so really here, they're just looking, I mean, you're just trying to get better every race and learn something and continue to push yourself to be better. So that's the point of this meet. It's not really about winning or losing at this point. Don't get me wrong. You want to win. No coach wants to lose, okay?
Right.
Listen, I in my years as coach at Coon Rapids, I hated losing. But, you know, we had some wins, and we had some fun times. And the best times, it wasn't even about winning or losing. It was about getting better, getting faster. And those were the most fun, just watching people improve and drop time and seeing the growth. And, you know, over time it works out. You end up getting more competitive the more you focus on improvement. So that's what they have to do. That's their goal.
Andover, a team in lane 4, winning in dominant fashion. They will grab second place as well up in lane 6.
Andover led there on that relay with 4 girls that were section scorers last year. So no surprise that they ran away with that one.
It's always nice to be able to pack relays that way. We will take a break. Up next, 100 backstroke on CTN. back at Northdale Middle School pool. 3 events remain. This one, the 100 backstroke. Cardinals in the pool are Mary Carter, Abby Peterson, and Haley Nolan. Huskies are Haley Vang, Kennedy McGowan, and Zoe Hughes.
This is an event where the Cardinals really miss some of the sick girls. Lily Moulton, who's not here tonight, she's a backstroke specialist and really coming along strong in the backstroke. So to not have her in this race is unfortunate. And then got to give a shout out there to one of the swimmers that I used to coach, Lillian Defoe. She's not swimming this year. She's got an injury, and she's obviously a really good backstroker. So, yeah, unfortunate for the Cardinals in this situation to not have some of their top swimmers. But it does appear that Abby's holding her own. She's staying in it, not too far off. Maybe she can come home here and push for a like I said, you know, trying to get those depth spots, trying to get that 3rd, 4th, 5th, see if you can beat Andover, not let them get a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Lily has had a really strong season and just an 8th grader for the Cardinals. Shows a lot of promise for the future, but need the numbers as we've talked about all night long. And obviously to have a couple of girls at the top is great, but to have 3, 4, 5 that can really push other teams' top swimmers in different events, all of a sudden you become a more dangerous squad top to bottom.
And it really takes, I mean, it's a team sport, but it really takes a team. I mean, this is one of those sports that you have to have quite a few. You know, it's not, I'm not knocking on basketball, but, basketball you can get away with having a couple and you could probably be pretty good. In this sport, you can't just have 2 or 3 good swimmers. You have to have a whole range of talent, and that makes it really difficult to compete when you're struggling to just get people to come out for the team. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, what is swimming all about? What is diving all about? Just come out and try. That's all I got to say.
And I will say this, from years of covering them, one of the most inclusive groups you will find in any high school extracurricular event. We'll take a break. Up next, 100 breaststroke on CTN.
Did you know you can raise backyard chickens? But a permit is required, and there's a limit of 4 female chickens per property. No roosters or other fowl are allowed. And there are specific rules for the chicken coop and run. For more information on this and other city codes, log on to coonrapidsmn.gov.
Back we are. 2 events remain. 100 breaststroke now, and then the 400 free relay. Mara Valley is in lane 2, Morgan Sheely in lane 4, Leanna Seward in lane 6, and Bella Kirschman in lane 8 for Andover. For the Cardinals, Caitlin Davis in lane 3, Evelyn Altapeter in lane 5, and Vivian Jensen in lane 7. And Andover's Mara Valley, the daughter of former Cardinal alum and former coach Sarah Valley.
Yeah, Mara, I mean, she's had a really good season so far. I've kind of kept track of her progress, and she's having a great race right now. She's right at it, in the lead after 50 yards. So she's started to kind of figure it out, I think, on the breaststroke. She's gotten some opportunity with Andover this year. They're not necessarily as deep in the breaststroke, so she's taken advantage of the opportunity. See if she can win from an outside lane here. She's in the lead.
Well, and she used to be up on the board across the way. Her mom, Sarah Walby, at the time. I think in a couple of events, and I know for sure 1 or 2 of the relays.
Yeah.
But you know, then that Megan Schultz girl came along and just changed that whole board. Another 1-2-3 finish for the Andover Huskies in the 100 breaststroke. And you can see they've just got loads of talent in every event, every stroke.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a third place section finisher as a team, you're gonna have some depth, right? Like you can't finish that high and not have some good talent. And as we said coming in, they had 8 girls returning that had scored at the section meet last year. That's a big group to have that are section scores. And you know, you're hoping to get a couple more returners to add to that. But yeah, Mara Valley, 119.55. She's got a good shot at the end of the season to maybe sneak in there in the top 16 in the 100 breaststroke at least. She keeps swimming like this.
Take one more break. Be back for the 400 freestyle relay after this. You're watching Girls Swimming and Diving on CTN. Final event of the evening is the 400 freestyle relay. Andover again able to fill 3 lanes to the Cardinals 2. And we've seen that pretty common throughout the night. Andover again, just more bodies, more girls in the water.
A little bit of a flinch there in lane 4. I don't know if the ref saw there or not, but it easily could be a DQ. A little flinch on the start. Not trying to ask for anything. I'm just saying. I just
as a
noticed
casual observer who knows a thing or two about the sport.
Yeah, I mean, as a you see those kind of things, but yeah, Joe, you got to look at it this way too. You have 8 girls from Coon Rapids in the water. That's half the team essentially.
Yeah, right.
So
right. Filling 2 lanes.
Yeah, filling 2 lanes, right? So, You don't always think about it like that, but you got 22, you're missing a couple tonight.
Right, yeah.
Half the team is in the water, which also makes it difficult because that means there's only, 8 to 10 girls cheering on the side of the pool. That what you want is your team supporting each other, and you want as many people as you can cheering for the athletes that are in the water. We always encourage that. Ashley encourages that as the head coach. I know that's one of her priorities, is that teamwork and that camaraderie. And, hard when half your team is behind the blocks to do that,
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, then you add to it, if they did fill all 3 or even 4 lanes, because you have 4 lanes capable.
Right.
4 would be, that'd be 16. That'd be 3/4 of their team on a good day.
And the other thing you have to understand is that,
And you got to have some girls ready to swim the next event.
Well, and, obviously this being the last event, a little bit different, but
Right.
in terms of relays, and in events in general, you only get 4 total events per person.
Sure.
And you can only swim in 3 total relays. However, if you do 3 relays, you can only have 1 individual event.
Right.
So Coon Rapids trying to spread their people across the events, get people to swim 2 events, and then 2 relays, 2 individual events, 2 relays. At some point, the math just works out where, they probably only have 10 girls that can actually swim this event based on eligibility in terms of events they have left to swim. So that's just kind of how it shakes out in terms of the meets. But.
So we go back to our appeal. Anyone in the middle school and high school levels, really boys or girls, because the boys team suffering from similar struggles with overall numbers. You get to join a great group of kids that will support you in and out of the pool, and you have some fun while you're at it.
It's a fun sport. It really is. I mean, I have enjoyed it for most of my life, and you just have to say that, you look at it and you go, okay, well, looks like they have to work pretty hard. But, I mean, if you want to be in any sport, you're going to have to work. So you kind of got to get that out of your head. You got to think, how cool is it that you could get to swim in a pool every day or dive into a pool, whatever you want to do. You never have to worry about feeling really hot because you're jumping into a pool and you're going to be cooling off. And then in between moments of training, you're in a pool. You get to have fun. You know what I mean? That was the best part. All the messing around we did in between training. Granted, we took it seriously, but you get to do fun stuff. You're jumping into the water. You're doing all sorts of stuff. I mean, that you don't get that in other sports. Like if you're in the hot gym, you're on the hot wrestling. They heat that, not to knock on the wrestlers.
Oh.
Okay, they do, but they heat that wrestling room to what? 110 degrees or whatever it is.
They try.
It's pure suffering and props to the wrestlers. I couldn't do that.
No.
But it is pure suffering for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long they spend. Basketball gym, you're running around. I'm not saying, listen, swimming training is hard. Okay, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it's also fun. At the end of the day, you're in a pool, and who doesn't want to be in a pool? I mean,
and I go back to the same old. It doesn't matter the sport.
No,
your opportunity to compete in a sport, any sport that you love, at a really competitive level like high school, it's such a small portion of your lifetime.
Right. It's a limited opportunity, and swimming is one of those sports that's very unique because everyone gets to compete. Whether it's junior varsity or varsity, you get to swim the same length races. It's not like they're different length races. And there's plenty of opportunity, especially on a small team. So, I mean, having been a swimmer and a former coach, I think the world of this sport, and I really hope that people will come out. And just in general for Coon Rapids sports, you're seeing it across the board. We've got to figure out a way to get more kids out, and that's every sport. And I don't know what it will take, but something's got to be done because we can't keep going down this road.
Yeah, they need more people, and there's certainly enough bodies in the school still within the top I think 20 attendance-wise in the state of Minnesota.
There really isn't much of a reason for in that instance. You know, you have a big school. You should be able to get people out. For whatever reason, it's not happening. We got to figure out a way. And you know, it can't be just about winning and losing. Okay, just because, well, they're not good, I don't want to play. Well, that, I don't know. We can go into this for, yeah, right, exactly.
But yes, and as much as you enjoy this sport, we've enjoyed having you here.
It's been a great
time. Certainly appreciate you willing to step in to fill in for Howie Shapiro, who is, again, you know, it's the holiday for our friends of the Jewish faith. It's Rosh Hashanah, so glad you were able to make it. Congratulations on the birth of your second child. It's amazing to think of the journey you have just begun. You think the swimming is fun. Parenthood is going to take you on twists and turns and ups and downs that you never imagined.
Thank you, Joe. It really was a pleasure. I enjoyed being here. And, yeah, Parenthood's great. Love it. 2 under 2, it's quite the journey. So,
well, I wish you the best of luck, my friend, and thank you again for joining us. And thanks, everyone out there, for joining us. Here's what we have coming up for you here on CTN. It's homecoming on Friday as the Cardinals welcome the #1 team of the state in Maple Grove. Next week, we'll see boys or girls, or maybe both, as they start the soccer playoffs on Tuesday. That'll premiere at midnight. Remember, section tournaments not allowed to show live. We'll see football on the road on Thursday at Blaine on the 10th. But that is going to do it for this edition of CTN Sports. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Doug Donaldson, I'm Joe Young saying goodnight.